Have you ever wondered why some gardeners get massive, perfectly healthy harvests, while others struggle with sick plants and rock-hard dirt, even after spending a fortune on chemical fertilizers? The answer might shock you. It has nothing to do with expensive products. Today, we are talking about a specific plant that literally saves your harvest. We are going to dive into the magic of spring green manures. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to sow this spring to turn your tired garden beds into incredibly rich, dark soil. But here is the real hook. What if I told you that leaving your soil bare and clean in the spring is actually destroying your future harvest? It contradicts everything our grandparents taught us about keeping a tidy garden. We are going to reveal the absolute best plant to fix this, and it is cheaper than a cup of coffee. I want to know right now, do you currently use any cover crops in your garden, or do you leave the soil bare? Drop a yes or no in the comments below, and let us get into the truth. Before we reveal the star of the show, we need to understand the big picture. For thousands of years, long before chemical factories existed, farmers had to keep their soil fertile naturally. They could not just drive to a store and buy a bag of synthetic nitrogen. They relied on a brilliant system called green manure. A green manure is simply a specific type of crop, grown strictly to benefit the soil, not to be eaten by humans. You grow it, and then you return it directly back into the earth. It is literally growing your own fertilizer. Over the last few decades, modern agriculture convinced us that we needed artificial powders and liquids to grow vegetables. We forgot this ancient wisdom, but now, smart gardeners are bringing it back. The concept is incredibly simple but highly effective. You plant these special seeds early in the season. They capture energy from the sun and pull rare minerals from deep underground. Then you chop them down, and all that captured energy is released into your topsoil, right where your tomatoes and peppers will need it most. So let us get straight to the point. What is this magical plant you must sow in the spring? The absolute champion of spring green manures is white mustard. Now, do not confuse this with the yellow stuff you put on your hot dogs. White mustard is a fast-growing, cool-weather plant that is essentially a biological machine for your garden. Why is it the champion? Because it thrives when the weather is still too cold for your regular vegetables. When your garden is empty in early spring, white mustard goes to work. It germinates at incredibly low temperatures. While your neighbours are waiting for the sun to warm up their bare dirt, your mustard is already building a massive root system and generating huge amounts of organic matter. It is the perfect bridge between the freezing winter and the warm summer planting season. Imagine planting tiny seeds and watching them explode into a lush green jungle in just a few short weeks. That is the power of white mustard. It is fast, it is tough, and it does exactly what your tired soil desperately needs right now. Let us talk about one of the biggest nightmares for anyone growing potatoes or root vegetables. I am talking about the dreaded wireworm. This nasty little pest lives in the soil and drills holes straight through your beautiful harvest, ruining it completely. People spend massive amounts of money on toxic pesticides trying to kill them. But here is where white mustard acts as a superhero. The roots of the white mustard plant naturally secrete specific essential oils and compounds into the soil. Wireworms absolutely hate these compounds. It burns them and disrupts their environment. When you plant a thick field of white mustard in the spring, it acts as a biological fumigant. It literally chases the wireworms away from your garden beds. By the time you plant your potatoes a few weeks later, the soil is clean and pest-free. This is a perfect example of using nature to fight nature. You get pest control without spraying a single drop of poison on the food you are going to feed your family. Now let us tackle another massive problem every gardener hates: weeds. Nobody likes spending their weekends on their hands and knees pulling out stubborn weeds under the hot sun. Spring is when weed seeds wake up and try to take over your garden. But white mustard grows so incredibly fast that it completely outcompetes them. It shoots up quickly and creates a dense, thick canopy of broad green leaves. This canopy acts like a giant umbrella. completely blocking the sunlight from reaching the soil surface. Without sunlight, those annoying weed seeds simply cannot grow. They are smothered before they even have a chance to start. We call this a biological herbicide. By sowing mustard early, you are claiming that territory for yourself. You are telling the weeds that there is no room for them here. When you finally chop the mustard down to plant your main crops, you will have a beautiful clean bed waiting for you, saving you hours of frustrating, back-breaking labour. It is time to bust a very popular gardening myth. Many old-school gardeners believe that soil needs to rest in the spring. They think that leaving the soil completely bare, raked clean, and exposed to the sun allows it to recover. This is completely false. In nature, bare soil is dead soil. When the earth is exposed, the sun bakes it, the wind blows away the top layer, and heavy spring rains wash away the precious water-soluble nutrients. Mother Nature always tries to cover bare dirt with weeds because she hates a vacuum. By planting a green manure like white mustard, you are protecting the soil. The roots hold the earth together, preventing erosion. The leaves protect the delicate soil microbes from the harsh ultraviolet rays of the sun. Your soil is not resting when it is bare. It is dying. A living root in the ground is the only way to feed the beneficial bacteria and fungi that make your garden thrive. So never leave your garden beds naked. Let us look at how this plant actually feeds your future harvest. You might be thinking, how does a plant create fertilizer out of nothing? Well, white mustard has a secret weapon. Its roots are highly aggressive and they secrete natural organic acids. Deep down in your soil, there are tons of trapped minerals, especially phosphorus, that your regular vegetable plants simply cannot access. They are locked up in chemical bonds like stones. The acids from the mustard roots dissolve these hard bonds. They unlock the phosphorus and absorb it into their own leaves and stems. They take unavailable food and make it available. When you eventually cut the mustard down and it begins to decay on the surface, all that wonderful unlocked phosphorus is released into the topsoil in a perfectly digestible form. Your tomatoes, cucumbers and peppers will easily drink it up later in the summer. It is like having a tiny mining crew working underground for you, bringing up the hidden gold. Do you struggle with heavy, hard clay soil, the kind of soil that turns into concrete when it dries out? If you do, you know how hard it is for delicate vegetable roots to grow in it. White mustard is the ultimate solution for bad soil structure. It produces a strong, deep taproot that acts like a biological drill bit. These roots push down hard, shattering compacted layers of clay and breaking up the hard pan. They literally plough the soil from the inside out. But the real magic happens when the plant dies. After you cut the tops off, those deep roots stay in the ground and slowly rot away. As they decompose, they leave behind thousands of tiny hollow tubes deep into the earth. These tubes become permanent channels for oxygen and rainwater to penetrate deep into the ground. Instead of water pooling on the surface and running off, it soaks in like a sponge. Your soil becomes fluffy, airy, and incredibly easy to dig. You will never need a heavy mechanical tiller again. So how exactly do you sow this miracle plant? People often overcomplicate this part, but it is actually the easiest gardening task you will do all year. You do not need to dig neat little rows or carefully measure the distance between seeds. You just use the ancient broadcasting method. Take a handful of white mustard seeds and simply throw them across the prepared soil surface, just like you are feeding chickens. You want a nice, even coverage, but it does not have to be perfect. Once the seeds are on the ground, take a simple metal rake and gently drag it back and forth over the dirt. You only want to bury the seeds about 1 inch deep. They do not need to be planted deep to survive. If a few seeds stay on the surface, that is perfectly fine too. The goal is just to ensure most of them have good contact with the earth. It takes maybe 5 minutes to completely seed an entire garden bed. It is fast, efficient, and incredibly satisfying to do. Now we need to talk about water. Every seed needs moisture to wake up, and mustard is no exception. Because you are planting this in early spring, the soil is usually still holding a lot of moisture from the melted winter snow or early spring rains. If the soil is damp when you rake the seeds in, you might not need to do anything else. Mother Nature will handle the rest. However, if you're having an unusually dry spring, you absolutely must water the bed immediately after sowing. Use a hose with a gentle shower attachment so you do not wash the tiny seeds away. Give the earth a really good, deep soak. The seeds need that steady moisture to swell and burst open. Once they sprout, their deep roots will quickly chase the water down into the soil, and they become highly drought resistant. But those first few days are critical. Keep an eye on the weather forecast. If no rain is coming, you're in charge of keeping that top layer damp until you see the little green heads popping up. This next point is the absolute golden rule of using green manures. If you ignore this, you will cause more harm than good. You must know exactly when to cut the mustard down. You cannot just let it grow forever. The perfect moment to terminate the crop is right when you see the very first yellow flower buds starting to open. Do not wait for the whole field to turn bright yellow. Why is this so important? When a plant starts to produce seeds, its entire biological focus changes. It stops pulling nutrients into the leaves and instead moves all its energy into making hard, woody stems and seeds. If you wait too long, the stems become tough like tree branches. When you finally cut them, they will take forever to decompose in your soil. Even worse, if they drop seeds, your helpful green manure just became a terrible weed for next year. Cut them down while the stems are still soft, green, and full of water and nitrogen. That is when they are the perfect food for your garden. So the mustard has grown beautifully. The first flowers are appearing, and it is time for the harvest. How do you process it? You have a few easy options depending on what tools you have. If you have a small garden bed, you could simply use garden shears or a sharp hoe to chop the plants down at the base. If you have a larger area, a string trimmer, or even a regular lawn mower works perfectly. Run the mower right over the bed to chop the green leaves into tiny pieces. Now, what do you do with all that chopped green matter? Do not throw it away. Do not put it in a separate compost bin. Leave it exactly where it falls. Spread it out evenly over the soil surface like a thick green blanket. This is called chop and drop mulching. This layer of organic matter will protect the soil from the sun, hold in moisture, and immediately begin breaking down. The earthworms will smell this delicious food, come up to the surface, and pull it down into the dirt for you. This leads us to a big debate in the gardening world. Should you dig that chopped mustard deep into the soil with a shovel, or just leave it on top? For decades, farmers were told they had to plough green manures deep underground. But modern soil science tells us a different story. We now know that digging and turning the soil destroys the delicate fungal networks and kills earthworms. The best method is the no-till approach. Just leave the chopped greens on the surface or lightly scratch them into the top 1 or 2 inches of soil with a rake. The soil biology is incredibly smart. The bacteria, fungi, and worms will break down that green matter naturally and distribute the nutrients deep into the root zone without you lifting a heavy shovel. By leaving it on top, it acts as a protective mulch while it decays. You save your back from hard labour and you keep the underground ecosystem perfectly intact. It is a win for you and a win for the soil. Patience is a virtue, especially when dealing with green manure. You cannot just chop down the mustard today and plant your delicate tomato seedlings tomorrow. You must enforce a waiting period. This is a crucial step that many beginners get wrong. As that massive pile of green mustard begins to rapidly decompose on your soil, it creates a lot of biological heat and releases certain gases. The microbes working on breaking down the mustard will also temporarily borrow nitrogen from the soil to do their job. If you plant your baby vegetable plants directly into this active decomposition zone, their sensitive roots can easily get burned, or they might turn yellow from temporary nitrogen starvation. The rule of thumb is to wait at least 2 to 3 weeks after chopping the mustard before you plant your main crops. This gives the soil time to digest the green matter, stabilise its temperature, and release a massive burst of rich available nutrients perfectly timed for your new plants. Now I need to warn you about a dangerous trap called the crop rotation rule. White mustard is a fantastic plant, but it belongs to a specific botanical family called the Brassica family. This is the exact same family as cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and radishes. In the gardening world, you should never plant crops from the same family in the same spot right after one another. They share the exact same soil diseases and attract the exact same pests, like the cabbage root fly or clubroot disease. If you sow mustard early in the spring and then follow it by planting cabbages in that exact same bed, you are inviting disaster. You are practically feeding the diseases and giving them a perfect environment to multiply. White mustard is the perfect preparation for tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, potatoes, and pumpkins. But keep it far away from your future cabbage patches. Always plan your garden layout before you throw those seeds. So, what do you do if you really need to prepare a bed where you plan to grow cabbage or broccoli later in the season? You need an alternative to white mustard. The absolute best alternative is a plant called Phacelia. Phacelia is known as the universal green manure. It is completely unrelated to any standard vegetable crop you grow in your garden. This means it has zero risk of transferring family-specific diseases to your vegetables. It is the safest choice for any crop rotation plan. On top of that, Phacelia is incredibly beautiful. If you let a little bit of it bloom, it produces gorgeous purple flowers that attract thousands of bees and beneficial pollinators to your yard. It grows just as fast as mustard, creates a massive amount of soft green biomass, and is incredibly easy to chop down. While the seed might be slightly more expensive than mustard, its safety and beauty make it a premium choice for smart gardeners who want zero rotation headaches. Let us talk about one more excellent alternative, especially if your soil is extremely exhausted or very sandy. A mixture of oats and vetch is a classic spring combination. Oats are a fast-growing grass that produce a massive, dense root system. These roots are incredible at holding loose sandy soil together and pumping huge amounts of carbon deep into the ground. Vetch is a legume, which means it has a magical ability. It takes nitrogen straight out of the air we breathe and stores it in little nodules on its roots. When you plant them together, the oats provide tall, strong stalks for the vetch vines to climb. You get the deep soil conditioning of the oat roots and the powerful free nitrogen injection from the vetch. This mixture is a heavy lifter. It takes a little bit longer to grow than white mustard, but if you have a bed that is completely dead and producing terrible yields, the oat and vetch combo is the heavy-duty medicine your garden needs. Let us look at the financial side of this because the numbers are truly shocking. Have you looked at the price of chemical fertilizers lately? Buying heavy bags of synthetic nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium gets more expensive every single year. Not to mention the cost of buying truckloads of aged cow manure or compost. Now compare that to a single bag of white mustard seeds. For just a few dollars, you can buy enough seeds to densely cover your entire garden plot. Those few dollars turn into hundreds of pounds of high-quality organic fertilizer right there in your beds. You do not have to pay for shipping. You do not have to break your back carrying heavy plastic bags from your car, and you are not polluting the local water supply with chemical runoff. Growing green manure is literally printing your own garden wealth. It is the most cost-effective strategy ever invented for agriculture. The return on investment is massive, and your wallet will thank you. There is another hidden benefit to white mustard that we need to explore. It acts as a powerful sanitizer for sick soil. Many fungal diseases like late blight that destroys tomatoes or scab that ruins potatoes survive the freezing winter by sleeping in the soil. They wait for spring to attack your new plants. But when you grow white mustard, the unique chemical compounds released by its roots actively suppress these fungal spores. As the mustard plant breaks down, it creates an environment that beneficial microbes love, but disease-causing fungi hate. It shifts the biological balance of power in your dirt. Gardeners who consistently use mustard cover crops report significantly fewer problems with root rot, blight, and mold later in the summer. You are essentially using a plant to give your garden beds a deep, cleansing health treatment before the main event begins. It is preventative medicine for your vegetable garden. Let us visualize the physical transformation of your soil when you do this. Imagine holding a handful of dirt from a garden that has never seen a cover crop. It is probably pale, dusty, hard, and lifeless. It slips through your fingers like dead sand, or clumps together like wet pottery clay. Now imagine picking up a handful of dirt from a bed where white mustard has been chopped and dropped. It is dark, almost black. It smells rich, sweet, and earthy, like a deep forest after a rainstorm. It is full of little white fungal threads and fat, happy earthworms. When you squeeze it, it holds its shape, but crumbles easily when you poke it. This is called good soil tilth. This texture allows plant roots to effortlessly glide through the earth, searching for water and food. This is the ultimate goal of every gardener, and this physical transformation is exactly what spring green manures deliver. You are building the architecture of life. If you are worried that you missed the window to plant, let us clarify the timing. The beauty of these cool season cover crops is their flexibility. As soon as the snow melts and the top layer of soil is soft enough to rake, you can throw your mustard seeds down. Even if there is a light spring frost after they sprout, white mustard is incredibly tough and can easily survive a cold snap. But what if spring is already well underway? Do not panic. You can still sow it. Just remember the golden rule of cutting it down before it seeds. If you have a bed that will not be planted with hot weather crops like pumpkins or late tomatoes until early summer, you have plenty of time right now to squeeze in a fast crop of mustard. Just a quick 4-week growth cycle will do wonders for the soil. Every single day that a living root is in the ground is a victory for your garden ecosystem. Do not let an empty bed go to waste. Finally, think about the long-term compounding effect of this practice. Using a green manure is not a one-time magic trick. It is a long-term investment. The first year you do it, you will notice looser soil and a better harvest. But if you make sowing spring mustard a permanent habit every single year, the results compound like interest in a bank account. Year after year, you are adding massive amounts of organic carbon. You are drilling deeper and deeper into the subsoil. You are permanently multiplying the earthworm population. By year 3 or 4, your garden will be virtually unrecognizable. It will become a highly resilient ecosystem. When droughts hit, your soil will hold water like a camel. When pests arrive, your robust plants will fight them off naturally. You are transitioning from someone who fights the garden every weekend to someone who simply guides nature to do the heavy lifting. This one plant changes the entire trajectory of your gardening journey. So there you have it. The shocking truth is that leaving your soil bare in the spring is the fastest way to ruin your harvest. The real power to grow massive, healthy vegetables was never inside an expensive plastic bottle of chemical fertilizer. It has always been in the simple, brilliant system of nature feeding nature. By spending just a few minutes and a couple of dollars to sow white mustard or phacelia this spring, you are unlocking hidden nutrients, driving away pests, and building incredibly rich, dark soil that will reward you for years to come. Remember the golden rules. Sow early, let the roots drill deep, and always, always cut it down before it goes to seed. I hope you are feeling inspired to try this ancient technique in your own backyard. If you learnt something new today and want to keep making your garden better, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a big like. It really helps the channel grow. Now, I have a question for you to answer down below. Are you going to try white mustard this year, or are you going to use the universal phacelia? Let me know in the comments and let us get a great discussion going. Thank you so much for watching and happy planting!